Hi everyone, today we're going to think about the question of how do we solve algebraic equations. So we've thought so far about how do we simplify algebraic expressions and how do we formulate those expressions. And so your first question might be, okay, well I know what an algebraic expression is, but what's an algebraic equation? And basically an equation just means that we've got an equal sign in there. So we might have x plus 2 equals 7, and that would be our algebraic equation. And so your next question might be, okay, I know what an equation is now, but how do we solve it? What does that mean to solve it? And we know from algebra that if we have an x or a y or whatever as a letter, then that just represents a value. So x just represents a value that might be an integer, it might be 2 or 3 or 10 or minus 6, it might be a fraction, it might be a top-heavy fraction. We don't know, but in solving the equation what we're doing is we want to find what value x represents, what x equals. Okay? So think back to primary school for a minute and think about, or even just now, and think about how you would use the equal sign. Okay, so my guess is that you would use the equal sign in this way. I think you might do a big long sum, a big long calculation, and you get your answer, so you put equals, and there's your answer. And the equal sign kind of just represents the thing that you put before you put the answer in your book or whatever. But actually equals means a lot more than that. So if we have x plus 2 equals 7, basically what it's saying is, if I had a set of balanced scales, for example, where I have x plus 2 on this side and I have 7 on this side, if there's an equals in between, that kind of means that they balance each other, they're equal to each other. And so whatever I do to this side, x plus 2, I've got to do to this side to keep the equation balanced, otherwise they're not going to be equal anymore. So let's think about how we solve this equation, x plus 2 equals 7. Okay, so I've got I've got x plus 2, and I want to have x equals something. So if I've got x plus 2, to get x, surely what I need to do is I just need to take away 2, because x plus 2 take away 2 will give me x, in the same way that x plus 301 take away 301 would leave me with x. So, okay, so I think, right, I do x plus 2 take away 2 on this side, but to balance that equation I've got to then take away 2 on this side. So 7 take away 2 gives me 5, so I'm now left with x equals 5, and so I've got the value that x represents. And so I can check that using what we've learned already about substitution in algebra. So remember the original equation was x plus 2 equals 7. So I think that x equals 5. I think that's my solution to solving the equation. So I put that back in and I get 5 plus 2 equals 7, which makes sense. So we can know that's right. Let's think about a different problem. Let's think about x minus 4 equals 10. So that's our algebraic equation now. So if I've got x minus 4 on this side, I want to get rid of that pesky minus 4 because I just want to have x. So if I've got x minus 4, what I want to do is I want to add 4 to get me to x. Okay, so x minus 4 add 4 gives me x on this side, but now I've added 4 on this side and they're not balanced anymore, so to balance them again I need to add 4 on this side. So 10 plus 4 will give me 14, and so I get x equals 14, and again I can check that. X minus 4 equals 10, so if I put in 14 instead of x, I get 14 minus 4 equals 10, which makes sense. And I've solved the equation. So what we've kind of learnt there is this idea of what's called inverse operations. So basically all that means is that things like adding and taking away, adding and subtracting, they're kind of opposites to each other. So if I have x plus 2, to get rid of that plus 2 I take away 2. If I have x minus 4, to get rid of that minus 4 I add 4. And that's how we go about solving the equation with adding and subtracting. And in the same way, multiplying and dividing are also what we call inverse operations. They're kind of opposites. So if I have 3x equals 12, for example, so let's remind ourselves of what 3x means. 3x just means 3 times x. So we've got a multiplication, and I want to get to x on this side. I've got 3x at the moment, and I want to find x equals something. So if I've got 3 times x, I want to divide by 3 to get x. So 3 times x divided by 3 on this side will give me x. And on this side I had 12, so I divided by 3 on this side to balance them out and divide by 3 on this side. 12 divided by 3 gives me 4. And so I get x equals 4. And again we can test that by substituting in, and we get 3 times 4 equals 12. And again that shows what we mean by this inverse operation thing. Basically multiplying is the opposite of dividing, so that we can get x on this side equals 4 on this side. So hopefully that gives you a little introduction into algebraic equations and solving them and how that works. And so we think about adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. They're inverse operations that we use to find x equals something.